Well, welcome everyone to Quiz the Musicman. In this episode, we are going to review some of the digital audio workstations or ways you can record your music on your own. I'm going to introduce you to someone in the industry. Not personally, I'm going to talk about them. Her name is Dawn Beyer, and she has a group called The Real Nashville. And I'll give you some more information about that. And then we're going to go over the top 10 reasons you should not take music lessons. Either take music lessons or give them for your kids or people that you take care of. 10 reasons not to do that. And I've even got a little bonus for you. If you'll stay to the end, my bonus will work for everything in your life, period. Music, career, success, friends, family, relationships, spiritual health, you name it. That's a secret right now. So if you're seeing the video, I look like just a big floating head, but anyway, I'm trying to get that fixed here as we go. I'm kind of on a small budget. My name's Tony Underwood, and I own a music school in Central Florida, in the Lake Mary Longwood area. And I've had a varied career, and I've always been involved in music, and I also write, record, and perform my own music and market that. So we got a lot of stuff going on, and I've decided to do this podcast and vlog. You can find all about me at my website, at my Facebook page, Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok coming soon, Tony Underwood Music. The Underwood School is the school that I run, and you can find my music on Spotify or anywhere good music is found. And I have a YouTube channel, wait for it, Tony Underwood Music. I do a lot of covers and things like that, and I do my blog podcast, Quiz the Musicman. And we talk about anything music. You send in some questions, and we do some reviews. We talk about the industry. And we talk about learning music, performing music, being a professional musician, and just life in general. You know, a lot of this gets into, almost Dr. Phil's territory, but of course not on that caliber. He knows what he's doing. I'm just kind of winging it here. And what are you getting for your money? Well, you're not paying anything. Remember that. But you are getting my experience. I can simply tell you what I've seen over and over and over and over again. I can tell you my opinion that's always based on fact. I don't just throw things out there, and it's based on fact. If you're not the kind of person that can deal with that, this ain't the podcast for you. And I'll be glad to answer your questions, hear your comments, respond to your comments. So make sure you send those in any form that you can. There's so many forms of stuff out there. Go for it. So let's get started. Number one, let's talk about, introduce a person in the industry. And I have some little notes here, so I'm going to look at those real quick. The person I'm introducing to you, her name is Dawn Beyer, D-A-W-N, and the last name is B-E-Y-E-R. You can find her by Googling or searching for therealnashville.com. You can go to that website. I was introduced to who Dawn was. I've not personally met her, but I was introduced to who she was by a music marketing and manager, Rick Barker, which I've talked about Rick before, rickbarker.com. He's great if you're trying to market music, or you're a music manager, or you're in the music industry and want to learn a little bit about it. He's got great programs. He's got a lot of free videos and so forth. So Dawn did something really interesting, because the music industry has changed so much in the last few years. You can read about her story and listen to her story, and of course she tells it better. I'll give you briefly. She was a budding songwriter, singer, and wanted to get that music out there. And at the time, you went and played and got an AR person interested, and then a record company would come along and you'd be rich and famous. That still happens. They do about 50, is it 50 a week or 50 a month new artists are signed through the major labels. I think there's really 3 big majors and there's 8 major totals. But they sign a lot of artists and spend billions of dollars a year on developing them. But it's not like it used to. They might, at some point, I knew they were doing 200-300 a month or whatever. So anyway, she moved to Nashville, or near Nashville. She said she lived in this little shack that when it rained, the water came up through the floor. And I've lived in some pretty rough holes myself, young lady, so I can at least empathize truly with that. But she was on what they call Broadway, which is the strip in Nashville where the tourists come and listen to people play. She went in there and played and sang her heart out. But it was all covers because the thing is, if people don't know who you are, they're not going to want to listen to your songs. I don't mean that in a mean way. That goes for me too. So really, she would sing just, hours and hours a day, 12, 14 hours, working on tips, making so little money. And she was kind of heartbroken about it, I think, and not really knowing what to do. A young lady on her own. And as it goes, you don't get a lot of support from people through the reason they don't want to or they can't. And she had a Facebook page, which you do as a celebrity. You're trying to do that. Or a public person is what they call it. And this was just at the time Facebook was starting a Facebook Live, which is where you can hit it and you're live and you can perform or whatever. And she was looking and she said, I can do this. So she started doing Facebook Lives, I think just about every day. And she figured out a way to get a PayPal link to where you could, she called it a virtual tip jar, to where you could donate money. Now, she had a small following, and of course, she had people that would come and listen to her, and I think she did both for a while. And it took a while. She was there every day. It might have taken a year, I don't remember. But suddenly, people would start hitting her tip jar and giving her $10, $20, and she started putting merch, some T-shirts and hats, and she go back and look at her, go to her Facebook page, Dawn Beyer, and you'll see she is so personable. And I have to say, having taught music and been around a while, I'm not an AR person, but I put on shows and been involved in, and I can tell you, the girl can sing. She's got a good, clear voice. She uses it. She plays extremely well. It's one thing to bang out chords on a guitar and do a bunch of shred and riffs. Nobody cares about that, I'm sorry to say. She plays guitar. She's giving you a guitar lesson. Her way of accompanying herself is just beautiful. And now she admits she didn't know what she was doing at first, and the sound maybe not be good, and she kept experimenting, and those things live. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. She had people come on and say, well, she's never going to get anywhere unless she puts a bunch of makeup on and a bunch of garbage like that. But you have to see her. When you watch her live, she is so personable. You really connect with her. And that's what you should do with social media, is be honest and open and connect with people. So the upshot of this is that after a year of her getting this going, she made close to 6 figures doing that. And she quit doing the stuff on Nashville Broadway because she knew that would never lead to anything the way it was going for her. And she started teaching other people how to do this and building up other people that she's kind of trying to promote in the same way. And she also offers a course. So if you're interested in this, take her course. It's I don't know how much money it is. It doesn't matter. People will buy boy, I sound like I'm 80. But I buy expensive things. I like it. But I buy good, expensive things that maybe they're not investments, but they're close. And everything else, I try to make an investment. But, people really will spend money on things they really can't afford and neglect their own profession. And I don't understand that. If you're a musician, you need to be getting lessons, period. Listen, Renee Fleming, probably the greatest singer's ever been, Pavarotti, when they went to get an opera, they handed them the CD, the opera, and here's your coach. And Renee Fleming teaches. She does great master classes. She doesn't need to. But so nobody's above getting lessons. And don't say you can't afford it. You can't afford not to. You are destroying your own career by not getting yourself lessons, guitar lessons, practicing, getting some help, getting things better and better. So please do it. Go to this Dawn Buyer, check her out. I don't get any money from her. She don't know who I am. She might not want me suggesting her. I might get a YouTube thing that they're banning me because she don't want, a straggler like me talking about her. Rick Barker, same way. He might not want me. I talk about Adam Ivy. He's on Instagram and YouTube a lot. Adam Ivy. He does marketing. Michael Elsner does movie and commercial placements of your music. He's great. Buy their stuff. Nothing they have is too expensive for you, because if you have a car that's less than 10 years old, you can afford any of those things. And if you have a car less than 5 years old, you can afford all of them. And if you've paid $200 for sneakers, don't even get me started. Okay, I love sneakers, but, get with it. Come on, man. It's crazy. So I know that was bad, but look, take a good look at your life and don't whine and moan and groan that you can't get nowhere when you're not investing in yourself. So anyway, Dawn showed that there's a new way of doing things in this new music business. You've probably never heard of her. She makes more money in her little music than most of you people make, because most people don't make, 50, 60 grand. That's it. Most people are well under that. Okay? There's about 20% of the population that make above 100,000 a year, or I'm sorry, above about 80,000. I don't know that there's that many. And there's about 2% that are doing real well, and there's 250 that are super uber rich. We got 360 million people in this country, so do that math. But 6 figures ain't bad playing to some Facebook. Now, she has expanded and done much more things. You have to have multiple income streams, and that's what she's doing. But you don't have to do that to start with. You do one thing, do it good. So look at her, Dawn Buyer, the real Nashville. So there you go. So now, let me take a sip of this coffee. What I want to talk about is a digital audio workstation or recording programs, DAWs. There are many out there. And if you are a musician, you might want to do it just for recreation. You might want to do it for professional. Now that's different too. And let me just set right now, you can go and pay very little. 40, 50 bucks an hour, a couple $100 per song at your local recording engineer. And you can ask around and see who does good stuff. I'm here in the Orlando area, GRP Productions, Greg Wright Productions. They've done stuff for everybody. Doobie Brothers. I can't go on their website. They're still here. They're fairly inexpensive. I don't know how much, but I do know there are other people that'll do 20, 30 bucks an hour, a couple $100 a song, and you can get a beautiful recording, mixed, mastered, however you want it. If you're at a point where you don't want to fiddle with it, just do that. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about it, I would recommend a DAW. I'd recommend a simple one. I would start with something like GarageBand, which is iOS only, Ableton Lite, which is, I don't know what format, but it's easy to negotiate. And if nothing else, take a look at those and see. GarageBand comes free on your device. Ableton Live is pretty inexpensive. And then there are the pro ones, like Pro Tools. That's probably the Mac Daddy of it. Pro Tools. Logic, which is an Apple only, I believe. Logic is Apple only, but it's a top tier. Reaper is free, R-E-A-P-E-R. They ask for a $60 donation. And there's something called One out there. Studio One. There's Ableton the normal one, FL Studios, and there are others. Now, these really require you to have a good PC and kind of figure that out. And also, it takes a lot of your time to learn about this and to use it. Now, I've used Pro Tools and everything. I'm not an expert, but I've done it. I've been doing this a long time. I used to have hair down to my shoulders. Now it's just falls on the floor. I shave it off. But it'll turn gray. But so I've used all of them. They all have their pluses and minuses. I will say that even from GarageBand on your phone with the microphone if you have a newer phone, the stats of what they can record are just as good as anything else out there. Because, you might buy a $200-300 microphone. Let me share something with you. These phones we buy, these top tier phones, whether it be a Galaxy or Samsung or Google or whatever, or the iPhones, they don't cost $1,000. They cost way more than $1,000. They probably cost $2,000 to make, but they're depreciated and it's all worked out over time because you're paying AT&T. They pay back to Apple and Galaxy and all these people. So what I'm getting at is the microphone and the camera are some high-end stuff. They might be $200-300 cost. And if you have a microphone that it costs you let's say $200 to make, you've got to sell it for $800. Now, am I saying it's as good as an $800 mic? I'm not going to say that, but the stats are right there. The thing is, with a microphone in your phone or a device, it's the software as well. So you can start off, you can use your phone, your microphone, your phone. You can buy a very cheap $50 phone with an adapter and plug it in, a microphone, and use GarageBand and stuff. There are tutorials. For GarageBand, on your phone, I would YouTube Pete Johns and GarageBand. He's got tons of stuff. For Ableton, those kind of things, those are people that do beats gravitate toward Ableton and FL Studios. I would look at Ill Factor, ILL Factor. He's out there. Maybe you can get some information from that. Any of the other super DAWs that you would need a PC for, really, I would suggest that you Google or look up on YouTube Graham Cochran, Recording Revolution. He has super classes if you want to buy, but he's made so many YouTubes. You could spend a couple months, which is what I advise you to do, and watch his YouTubes. If you're going to do a DAW, some of the DAWs you can get for free. You can download Pro Tools, a light version, I think, for free. And you can practice and go through what Graham talks about, and then he'll lead you to other people as well. And then if you really want to get into it, take his class, sign up, pay it. Come on, this is your life. You got one chance. You're going to blow it for $300. You're going to buy a $50,000 truck that can't afford it, but you're not going to pay, I don't know, $200 for his thing, or $1,000 even, or whatever. Look at what you're paying to go out and eat. Come on, make a peanut butter sandwich once in a while and pay for this stuff for your life. So the thing to remember with DAWs is the learning curve. It might take you months and even a year or two to really get super proficient. Now, it might not. You might in a month be a whiz. The other thing is plugins. Plugins are the extras, the sounds, the modules, stuff like that. That can get expensive, and you don't know really what you're doing until you've done it. That's why most people work in a place or go to a really high-end institution to learn that, and then they kind of filter out. Or they've worked at it for years. They start when they're 10, and they're whizzing it by the time they're 14. So if you're not that, I would look at Graham Cochran stuff, and then you can decide what DAW to use. Right now, I do everything on an iPad Pro and GarageBand. And I use another app called Mastering. It's a great name. I master it there. I mix it, I shoot it through there. It's got presets that I use. I can play with the presets a little bit, master it. It comes out. The old style for a radio, you want the final visual graph look like a big woolly caterpillar, you want it really in front. But it does all the stuff easy. Now there's also a called, what is it called? Let me see here. Let me look real quick on my... No, it's not that. I have Audio Bus, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Let me look this up real quick. It's an iPad only, or I would be able to have this here. Let's see what we got here. I'm still with you. I'm looking something up here. Give me a minute. Well, you can get a lot of this stuff. Aria Pro. There it is. AURIA. Aria Pro music production. There's a ton of these. They have Reaper for iPad. In-track studio, multi-track DAW. There's just, I didn't realize there were this many now, but Aria Pro is a full DAW. You pull up it, the whole screen looks like a panel, and you can do all this stuff, and it's great. Go for it. But most of you at that point will probably get a PC and use that, or a Mac. But don't do that until you download a free one, play around with it. What's the what is the free one? Audio, what is it? It's been around forever. Audacity. 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 That's free. It's been around forever. So anyway, those are some things to get you started. So let's get now to the 10 reasons you shouldn't take music lessons. And I know what you're thinking. You think this is some joke that I'm suddenly going to pull this around and give you less reasons why you should take them, or they're like sarcastic things. No, these are actual reasons you shouldn't be taking music lessons. I've been involved in this for years, and I've worked at, I've given free lessons. I've done it in public schools. I've worked at other private music lesson places, and I've owned my own business now for almost 11 years. And I can tell you that what I'm a little different, I guess. My instructors, I've had a couple of them lately say, gosh, Tony, it's funny, because they worked at other places and have worked, and they said, but when I get a student from you, they're always so into it, and they stay for a long time, and they're very committed, and the family's always very good. He said, you just seem to get all those students. And I just kind of chuckle. I don't get all those students. I get lots of people coming in wanting lessons, and maybe 1 out of 20, maybe maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 20, close to 1.5 out of 20 That's how few make it through me. And I'm not being mean or being obstinate, but I want to be fair and honest. I don't want to be nice. I want to be fair. And what is fair? Fair is being honest and upfront and giving you the information in a way that's nurturing and supportive and helps you make a decision. So that's what I do, and I filter out a lot of people. I don't say, oh, you can't take lessons from us. What happens is, by the time we have talked through things, they realize we're not the place for them. And I've talked about how do you know it is the place. It's when you have to do your due diligence. You have to go and take a lesson there, talk to other people. I have people calling and wanting to come in and take lessons. I'm like, okay, how'd you hear about it? So, oh, well, I just Googled you. I said, okay, sure, come in. I'd like to talk to you first. Well, we just want to sign up. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, but let's talk first. I'd like for you to come in, or we can talk on the phone after you've had a chance to look at my Facebook page and website and, get to know us a little bit. And it's a three-pronged thing. I'll get into that a little bit. So let's get into the 10 reasons you should not. The first one is that you're unsure of the studio or the instructor. You should take a trial lesson with them. And you can't tell everything from that. But if you get just a feeling that's not right, your gut, it's not working, don't do it. Go somewhere else, try them out. Go somewhere else, try them out. Try 3 or 4 out. Spend, you're gonna spend less than $100 trying stuff. Some places give free trial lessons, and that's okay. I don't do that because I value what my instructors do, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you're getting that for free, they're going to get it back somehow, and probably, since you don't see it, it's going to be more than you would think. So I don't do free trials, but some places do. Go see it, talk to people, and get a good feeling. If you don't have a good feeling, that place ain't for you. You don't feel comfortable with the studio owner or the policies. People come in and say, oh, well, what do you do when I miss? And my question is, well, why are you missing your music lessons? That's the first part of what I talk to them about. The parents' commitment is to make sure their kid's at their lesson. Now, will they be there all the time? No. And will we anywhere all the time? No. But I took lessons when I was a little kid. I didn't miss. I took lessons as a professional. I didn't miss. I went to college when I was older. I didn't miss. I went to college when I was a teenager. I didn't miss. I would miss a lesson now and then, but it was like pulling teeth. Because what it gets into is they want your lessons at will. And that's okay, but that's expensive. And if you're not giving that commitment, how's your student going to give a commitment? And I know the two things are, well, she can't miss soccer, she can't miss whatever. I'm like, well, go talk to your soccer coach and tell them you're not going to be there because you have a music lesson. And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, listen, the coach is no better than me. And this is what I do for a living. And this is what I do for a business. And if you don't give it value, it's really not a good place to spend your money. So make sure you know those policies, or of being late, or of not practicing, or, I don't know. Whatever the policies are, read them and go on how to withdraw. Some people don't know how to withdraw. We have a policy that if you miss a lesson, your lesson with us reserves your time. It's month to month. It's not a long-term contract where you're paying tons of money. You pay month to month. If you're enrolled, you get the benefits. Once you don't pay, you are no longer enrolled and you get no benefits. That's how we do it. So if you're enrolled and you miss a lesson, you can attend an unlimited group lesson. I do group lessons all the time. That's part of music anyway. You really should be doing that. And it's free. You just come in and we teach you how to play in a band. And I lead most of those. I'm the most experienced instructor here. I own the place. I've done this a lot. So people will come in and miss and say, oh, well, I'm not going to be there. Can I make that up some other time? I'm like, you can do whatever you want to. I said, but we won't be there. Come to our lesson. Well, I've got to be somewhere. I'm like, well, go to that place and tell them you can't be there. You have a music lesson at that point. And they look at me like I got three heads. And I'm like, well, that's what our policy is. So you're asking me something you've agreed to now me change it. That would be like me asking you to disagree. I mean, I'll do a makeup lesson and you pay me $50 extra. Well, I'm not. I already paid you once. I'm like, well, we waited for 30 minutes for you and you didn't show up. And we can't do anything else in that time. It takes time to schedule people. So that's how that is. Now, if you don't think this makes sense, then we're not for you. Go to another place. But I'm going to say something to you. A person that doesn't value their time, that's the example you want to be setting for your kids. If that's the example, go for it. But make sure that you understand those policies. Otherwise, you shouldn't be there. 3, you think you can get a better price, because my thinking is you need to go get that price. Don't waste your time with me. Because I try to have a fair price, but I make it my mission to give the most value. And I'll tell you, it starts with me. This is all I do. Now, I do record music and market it and perform, but I do that all in my studio after hours. I'm here. When you come in, you don't talk to some part-time person up front. You talk to me. When you call it, I have a cell phone that has this number. I talk to you. I text you. If you have a problem with anything, I take care of that. If you have a scheduling problem, if you have a problem with your instructor, if you have a question, if you have anything, I take care of all those personally, me. I don't work at a university and just do this on the side. I don't have other things. I'm not a huge performer out there. I do perform from time to time because I like to keep myself into it. But I do Facebook Lives and things from my studio, do all my recording here. And I'll tell you, this is after hours now. There's nobody here. Well, of course, with the coronavirus, they're all dispersed anyway. But this is after, it's almost 7 o'clock my time. And we don't have any lessons at that point at this time anyway. On Wednesdays, people are done. So I'm here. I'm going to be here later. I'm going to be here early. I'll come in on Sundays and do stuff. So if you can get a better price, then I would suggest you do that. And to me, it just means you don't understand value and price. And you see, you'll be unhappy at that place. So why would you be at a place you're going to be unhappy at? You're going to try it. Oh, we're just going to try this for a little bit. Now, I understand that and I agree with that. But a month isn't trying anything. You need to stay at least 6 months and really a year. Make a commitment. And if nothing else, you've taught your child about honoring commitments and doing their best. Sometimes your best just isn't good enough. And you'll get to a point where it's not working out for you. And that's okay. You haven't wasted your time. You've learned valuable lessons. You've learned things. You've learned about commitment. You've learned about sticking with stuff. And you've also learned when to call it quits or when to change. You don't change your destination. You just change your route. If you come to a mountain, you might try to bore a hole through it. It might work great. But, 6 months later, you're 10 feet in the mountain and it's, 50 yards. You're not going to do it. Do something else. So don't just try it for a month. Really think about it and stick with it. 6 months to a year. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't. If the student doesn't keep up their grades, they can't take music. Now this, I'm going to really light some fires. Let me say first, I understand that. And I agree with that. However, most people that say that, they're not really thinking about it. You see, because I was in school, I was on chess club, I was in band, I kept up all my grades. I had really high tests in standardized testing. Yeah, they had them back then. I made a 30 on the ACT, which I know that's going back, but I did really well in the SATs and all that other stuff too. And I was involved in community activity, and I worked personally too in high school and in middle school and in grade school. I raised animals on the farm in grade school. Let me tell you, getting up at 2:30 in the morning, you're in 4th, 5th grade, and the pigs are out. Ugh. So anyway, so I did that. I made my music lessons. And I went on field trips, and I did all that stuff too, and my daughter did that, and now my grandkids are doing that. Because to me, that's like saying, oh, I failed math, no physics for you. Because music is just as important to those things. It's not a little thing that we do on the side. You are never going to make more money than Beyonce. I don't care what you do. Because you're not Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, and that's what you'd have to be. You know, maybe one or two of you are, but I'm not talking to you guys. You guys are out doing it now. And on and on. There's probably 1,000 top people, and everybody in their group, they're attorneys, they're people that manage their money, people that manage their estate, people that manage their tours, people that write music for them, people that arrange music, people that play for them, people that dance for them, people that do all the audio visual for them, all the people on and on and on. They're making some money. You can make, a backup dancer can make, 6-7 figures for a 6-month tour or something. A way backup singer can make that. That's some real money. Now, it's not all the time, but that's the business. You have multiple income streams. If Walmart don't just sell ladies' underpants, although that was one of the biggest sellers for Sam Walton. And the story goes, he put stuff in a bin to discount it. And as the ladies would come and bend way over, you'd see their underpants looking pretty ragged. So he would put new underpants 5 for $1 and sold out. Can you imagine? There was a whole thing, they called them the discounters. They were like trash. They were buying a pair of pants at Penny's or whatever, Sears and all these department stores, and paying, let's say, $20. Walmart sold the same pants, the same ones, for $5. And they said, oh, you can't go there, they're a discounter. Is that crazy? These days it's totally opposite, I know, but imagine that. But I digress. And here's the other thing. So it is important, but music is just as important. And if you can't make a music lesson, you got bigger problems than music. You got some issues, because I've never had a student or a parent that I haven't asked them to look at their phone, the battery, and tell me how many hours a day they spend online. Most of the kids are 2 or 3 hours. So you can't, you can take a half hour a week for a music lesson. You can't make that. I don't know about that. The other thing I get, and this is going to blow up the internet and in your mind, and you're going to say, oh, he's stupid. I hate him. That's wrong. A parent will look at me and say, school comes first. And I'll look at them, and I agree with them. School does come first. But that's in a general thing, because I can show you how it doesn't come first. And the first thing I would say is, do you ever go on a school field trip? Because field trips are not necessary for school. If you do, school is now second. All right. Have you ever gone to a funeral or visit somebody in the hospital, something like that, and miss school? Now school is third. Now, I'm not judging. I'm not saying you shouldn't go. I'm just telling you the fact. Then, have you ever gotten out of class early for a doctor's appointment? You can make doctor's appointments anywhere. Or have you gotten out early to go on a vacation? But let's say the doctor, now it's 4th, and a vacation, now it's 5th. And is there any other thing that you take your kids out of school for? So school doesn't come first by your own definition. And to say that taking music is going to destroy your school career is actually backwards. Not taking music is going to negatively affect your school, because it's been proven that it just makes you a much healthier person. It's kind of like me saying, well, I sit down all day, I don't need my legs, I'll just chop them off. Well, no, your legs are part of your body. You may not ever use them to their fullest, but they're there, and you call on them, and they're part of your body. It's just like music. It's music and math. It's AAA. It's academics, athletics, and arts. And they all combine. You can't take one out of the other. And so I understand keeping up your grades, but if your son or daughter suddenly can't keep their grades up, music is not the problem. You got a problem there. And I'll submit that kids that come in here and excel, they excel at everything. They are the leaders. They're the ones that go on. I've had kids get engineering from high school and middle school. I've had engineering firms and universities come call on them, and so forth. So, get your kids in some lessons. But if you think if they can't keep up their grades, that's a reason not to take music. Another thing would be, I can't find anything he or she likes. And usually what that looks like is the parent is not seeing what the kid said. I had a parent come in, and the little kid was 6, and they'd already tried everything: gymnastics, karate, arts, you name it. Couldn't find nothing. Was maybe thinking guitar or piano. I said, well, what do they want to play? And well, he's 6. How does he know? I said, well, has he told you anything? So as we're talking, and I know this sounds like a setup, but this is the truth. I had a drum set up in the back. I do private, group lessons, so happened to have a drum set up. So a little boy went back there, and he just sits and he starts laying a little beat down. And the dad's like, John, stop that. You're making too much noise. I'm like, that's okay. Let him play around. So we're talking. He can't find nothing this kid likes. Boom, boom. He's laying a beat, which a lot of adults can't lay a beat. This kid ain't never had a lesson before. He's 6. He's laying a beat down. So I kind of smiled at the guy. I said, so you can't find nothing he likes to do? No, we've tried. I said, well, have you asked him? Have you listened to him? Oh, yeah, we listened to him. We asked him. He just don't know. Boom, 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 boom. John, you're making too much noise. I said, whoa, let him play. He went on and on. The dad never got it. Now, they were moving, so I didn't have the heart. I said, well, I'm not going to use his name. I said, Mr. Smith, I said, let me share something with you. John has told you exactly what he likes and exactly what you could do. I said, in that level, for him not to have had a drum lesson and he's 6, I said, listen, get him a drum lesson wherever you go. He just looked at me like I was crazy. But I think that's what happens. And I'm not hating on the people. I'm not making fun of them. I've been there. I've made all these mistakes. Look and see what you're really saying. And listen to the children. They'll tell you. First question, what if I miss a lesson? I talked about this a little bit. Why are you missing your lessons? Well, he's got this, that. Well, honestly, he might have too much going on. And go ask since you're already involved in those things now, go ask them what happens if you miss that for this. And I'll just say, I'll probably have the same thing to say to you. Because what will the soccer coach say? Well, listen, you don't play, then you're benched. Or the karate guy will say, well, he can make it up in another class. Whatever. So that's pretty much the same thing with us. We do offer ways to do that, but if you're not committed, if the parent isn't committed, the child will never be committed. And people don't understand what commitment means. I want you to think about this. Commitment doesn't mean I'm going to try something. That's not committed. If you have bacon and eggs for breakfast, the chicken is involved. The pig is committed. So that's what commitment means, doing something at the expense of something else. So in other words, you're going to not do something else to do that one thing you're committed to. If you don't do that, you are not committed. And nothing comes from lack of commitment. You need to be committed to things in order for it to work. And that's something that works for everything. So by taking music lessons, the kids learn that. They learn about commitment. If you never take a student to hear someone else play music or perform arts, now you might not be able to take them, but you can sure make it to where they can hear it in their own school, encourage them to go see. And, just going to rap stars or just going to pop or just going to classical, that's not how it is. You need a variety. You need to see your friends. What are your friends doing? What are kids doing your age? That's what you need to go see. Encourage them, take them. Don't say, we got to go to this thing. It's so terrible. Well, when's the last time you did something good? What is your job? Let me put you up against every person that does that in the world. If you're a top brain surgeon, believe me, there's a lot of people better than you. How would you like it if I just said, why am I going to go watch you operate? You suck. I'm going to go see this guy. I got to go see this happening. What does that mean? What are you, splitting the atom or something, or cold fusion, or, Fermat's theorem, in a 17th century, 18th century way. They've solved it, but they used modular functions, and he wouldn't have done that. He just did it in the edges of a book somewhere. Get a grip, man. Be excited. Take them to some places. Encourage them to watch other people play music and do the arts and things. Just want to keep them busy. A recreational kid is a fine student, and I've had them for years. But if you just want them, give them 2 nickels and let them go do something, that's not much of a support. So I would say be a little more involved in that, and make sure they find out it's something that, even if they're not going to be a musician, or they're only going to do it for a couple of years, that they'll enjoy it, that you'll be supportive of them, and they can get through that as well. That was number 9. Number 10 is you don't want to invest in quality instrument and supplies. And I can understand that. It's tough. People will not say stuff to us. I've had people at a recital, rather than coming and saying, I got 8 people, and, my husband lost his job. We can't afford recital tickets. They'll wait till the last minute, sit out in the lobby and blurt out in front of everybody, all the parents, people they don't know, we don't have money for recital, I guess we just won't go. Talk it over with your person there. If you can't afford a guitar, there's ways around that. A lot of families can put out the word and get a guitar from somebody. I'm trying to figure out a way to get people to get rid of some of those instruments they don't ever use and won't ever use. It'll die. The instrument will just dilapidate and be useless, or they'll end up giving it to, which there's nothing wrong with goodwill or whatever, but I would rather them give them here to the studio, and I can give those to a student that needs it. That's a whole nother story. But in a decent guitar, $80 to $100, you can get a really fantastic guitar. I've had people search eBay for $50 now, or Amazon. I'm not saying they're bad. Many times they're fine, but you run the risk at that level. And if something is wrong with that guitar, it might just come broken. It might be because they're not doing good shipping. Then you got to send it back. You got to pay for it. And then you miss your lesson, and you're just starting, and you get frustrated, and the kid gets frustrated. The instructor gets frustrated. You just throw up your hand and say, I'm not doing this. Other than paying $100, getting a fine instrument, usually I bring those in. So that way I look at it. If there's a little problem with it, I can repair it, get strings on it, tune it, get it to you. Boom. I don't make a lot of money. In fact, I lose money on it, but it helps because it keeps that smoothness going. No turnkey for you. Do that. Get a good student instrument. Rent a good student quality instrument. And then as the child grows and gets better, they'll tell you they want something. Go get them something good. If you added up all the toys you bought, all the trips you took, all the times you ate out, take some of that money and invest it in your child, getting them some good quality instruments. So that's number 10. And here's a bonus reason you should not take music lessons. If you don't value music lessons or music education. Now, it's one thing to not understand it, to know nothing about it, to not even like it. You don't have to like things. I don't like the look of new Bugattis. I would never own one if I was a billionaire. Doesn't mean I don't respect it. I certainly understand the value. And if I see someone else with it, boy, I'm really into cars. I would love just seeing it. And I appreciate it for what it is. And I can see the joy it would bring to somebody else. Or that can be, maybe say, I don't like Gibsons. Doesn't mean they're not good. I don't like PRS guitars. I don't like Yamaha pianos. I don't like, I value it. I would say that that's the key to learn the difference in liking and valuing something and understanding that it has its own importance. And that way, even if you disagree with something, you understand it has value. And that's a reason not to take music lessons. If you just don't value it, your child's going to pick up on that, and your instructor will pick up on that. And it's just a big negative. And honestly, I don't want those negatives in my studio because other kids see that. That's always like I always vet my instructors very well. I make sure, but you never really know where their will is, if they're really into this or not until you see them. Usually I can see them in action. And if it's not quite what it could be, it won't matter. They won't last here because the other kids will see. And they'll see other instructors and they're going to go, okay, well, how come that instructor is so happy and mine's not? And how come they're doing this and that? And, the instructor kind of loses students and they're not here anymore. So that's why you need to really value music and music education. So anyway, that's a bonus. So you got 11 of those things. I've been long-winded. My throat's a little sore. So we went over Dawn Beyer, who makes music and makes money on her own without a record contract and so forth. We went over digital audio workstations, or ways you can record your own music, from the easiest, which I would say GarageBand on your iPhone, or there are other apps for Android as well, to iPad GarageBand or Aria Pro and many others. I've just noticed there used to not be that many, but there's tons now. To the DAWs. And if you're going to do a full DAW like Pro Tools or Ableton, get the free version and look up Graham Cochran, Recording Revolution. Look at his stuff and learn as much as you can. He's got a lot of free stuff you can learn. And you'll kind of learn about him. You can practice and see if there's something you want to buy. Remember, with the digital audio workstations, you need a good PC, and you're going to have to buy a lot of extras, a lot of plugins, they call them, which are the sounds and the different little ways. They have a compressor, but you really want some different compressors. They have a equalizer, but you want a different. So those are things you're going to have to do. Take 6 months to a year to just practice, watch Graham, and get your chops up on it. Now, a lot of you won't take that long. A lot of you will take right to it. You don't need me to tell you that you know what you're doing. Just do it. But everybody else, take your time. So that's our podcast for today. It went over, but I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think about it. I can take the hate. Doesn't bother me at all. because as long as it's an honest comment, it's not a problem. If it's something I don't like, I just ignore it. I'm at the age, when you're young, you're worried about what everybody's thinking about you. When you get to be another certain age, you don't care what people are thinking about you. And then when you get to be my age, you realize nobody's thinking about you, okay? Nobody. They're not wasting their time. So give me some comments. Let me know what's going on in your life. Be safe. Get you some of that life. It's the only chance you'll get, you know? Do what you have to do. If the people around you aren't supporting you, get you some new people. Don't leave home before you can afford it. If your mom wants you to take out the trash and mow the lawn and you can stay there, do it. What do you care? When it gets to be too much for you, go earn your own money and buy your own place. So that'll tell you where you are. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And look for my next podcast coming up soon. And Tony Underwood Music everywhere. Every device, every social media platform, I am there. And you can find my music. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody.